Okay, here is as I'm adjusting my camera yet again. This is the second installment for Chapter 9 on psychology over the lifespan. This is the last slide that you saw with the end of the first video. So we're talking about personality. Now, a guy that you've probably heard of, a guy by the name of Sigmund Freud. I'll adjust my camera one more time here. Freud has a lot of ideas, and a lot of his major ideas focus around the development of personality. He has three different components of the personality that he identifies and discusses. The first is called the id, and you'll want to jot these down. The id, we're talking about very basic drives. For example, hunger. We all have that drive to eat. Thirst. We all have the drive to drink when we're thirsty. Sexual appetite is another basic drive. We all possess these. Now, I'm going to skip to the superego. I know I'm cutting off a little bit. You see it better now. The superego refers to how we internalize society's sense of morality. So you want to jot that down. So again, the superego, in other words, we're referring to how we incorporate how society teaches us right from wrong. So let me give you an example. Very basic example. My id drive is telling me I'm hungry. Okay? We've all been hungry. But you can't always eat when you're hungry. Let's say that I'm walking home after this class and I'm hungry and I have no money with me. And I'm walking by a bakery on the street and I see that there's all kinds of like muffins and bread and all kinds of really great yummy stuff. And no one's really watching. No one's paying attention. It would be really easy for me just to swipe a loaf of bread or to take a cookie or to take a muffin. No one would know. And my basic drive of hunger would be satisfied. However, my superego is telling me, Brandon, you can't steal. Stealing is wrong. You can't do that. And this is where the ego comes in. The ego mediates between the id and the superego. So Freud would say, if I have a strong ego, then I would be able to realize, yes, I'm hungry, but it's wrong to steal because society has taught me that. My parents, my churches, my teachers, they've all taught me stealing is wrong. So my ego is strong. It's going to win out. It's gonna tell me, you know what, wait till you get home. You can wait 10 more minutes. You've got leftovers in the fridge. Now, if I have a weak ego, and this is where Freud says people can get into trouble, my basic drive of hunger, I may still give in. I may realize, yeah, stealing is wrong, but I'm going to do it anyway because I'm hungry, and no one's going to know. So in this case, the weaker ego would win out, and I would steal the bread. And he says that personality development can go astray and can be problematic if people have weak egos because they give in to these basic drives when they shouldn't. Another example is sex drive. Without being too graphic, people who are in committed relationships experience sexual appetite. Sometimes they experience sexual feelings toward individuals they are not married to or someone outside of their relationship. A strong ego, a person with a strong ego would be able to resist any temptation. Someone with a weak ego, according to Freud, would not be able to resist the temptation and would maybe have an affair or have a sexual relationship with someone outside of a committed relationship. So Freud says the weak ego is kind of gets us into trouble. If you want to think of it this way, the id is kind of like the devil on one side of your shoulder, telling you do it, do it, do it. The superego is sort of the angel on your other shoulder that's saying, well, yeah, but this is wrong. You shouldn't cheat. You shouldn't cheat on your spouse or your girlfriend or your boyfriend. You shouldn't steal. You shouldn't do all these things that are wrong. And then the ego, if you want to think of an analogy, like a scale, it kind of balances out the id and the superego. So, now, next person I want to talk to you about is Jean Piaget. He is mentioned a lot in Chapter 9 in your book. And again, I'm going to try to get this to where we can see everything on the slide with my silly camera here. Okay, there we go. It's a little better there. Now, Piaget, and these are outlined in your book very nicely, in case you're having a little trouble seeing this. He says that there are four stages of cognitive development. Now, we develop cognitively in many, many ways, but Piaget says there are four major steps. The first one is the sensory motor stage. Humans experience the world through their senses from birth to age 2. So basically anything that a child learns he or she is learning through their eyes, their nose, the sense of touch. Kids put lots of things in their mouths at this age, and they experience the world this way. They put toys, they put marbles, they put bad things in their mouth because they don't know any better. They're experiencing the world through their senses. So their sense of right and wrong comes from the experience they have with their senses. If they put something in their mouth and it tastes really bad, they spit it out. It's a bad experience for them. The pre-operational stage is the second. This is where humans first use language and other symbols. So children are learning to put words together, to put letters together to make sounds, put words together to make sentences. And they're learning about symbols and what things mean. If I stick my finger up like this, that means what? Most of you would say, well, that means wait a minute, or hold on. Well, yeah, that's a symbol. This symbolizes that. And we learn through our culture and through our socialization that that's what that means. Concrete operational stage. Humans start to see cause and effect relationships. So now children between the ages of 7 and 11 are starting to understand what causes things to happen. For example, if I throw a ball out of my bed, I'm not going to be able to get to it unless I climb out of my bed to retrieve it. Cause and effect. And then the formal operations stage, where most of us are at now. This is where humans start to think abstractly from the ages of 12 and up. So most of you in this room hopefully are probably in the formal operations stage. Now I'm going to try something a little different here. I'm going to shift over here. But hang with me. So we're going to continue with Piaget here. And we're going to get that ready. So we're still with Chapter 9 here. And we're still talking about Piaget. And we're talking about the emergence of thought and language. So these are some more of Piaget's ideas. Cognitive development in early infancy and childhood. According to, and you'll want to jot these down, by the way. According to Piaget, that's a typo, there should be an I after that P, but you get the idea. According to Piaget, children are naturally curious and create their own theories and hypotheses about the world. Piaget stresses that young children construct schemes to understand the world around them. So what is a scheme? You want to have this in your notes too. A scheme is a mental structure that organizes information and regulates behaviors. So schemes are basically ways of understanding the world and how it operates. And young children are constantly putting together these schemes. Sometimes they work well for the kids, and sometimes they don't work well for these kids. Examples of schemes. Let me give you some examples maybe to clear it up. Infants learn that forks, spoons, knives, and sporks, if you want to throw in the Taco Bell spork, they all form this broad category of things that I eat with. Infants also learn that pillows, sheets, and blankets form the broader category of things I can lay on. Infants learn that dogs, cats, and fish form the broader category of animals or pets. So this is kind of how schemes work. Now, these are mentioned in your textbook as well. Piaget talks about assimilation and accommodation. Assimilation refers to taking in information that is compatible with what one already knows. And I'm going to explain what Piaget means by that. So taking in information in a way that is compatible with what one already knows. Let me give you an example. Infants learn very quickly that they can grasp things. So the infant thinks to himself or herself, well, I can grasp a small toy truck, so I bet I can grasp Mommy's necklace, a toy block, or other small objects. So they're using that same, through their scheme, they're using that same mechanism to figure out, well, if I can grasp one thing, I can grasp other things. Same thing. Well, I can suck on a pacifier, so I bet I could also suck on this marble, my thumb, and Daddy's really important flash drive, for example. So they learn that they can, once they can suck on one thing, they can suck on lots of other things. Now, accommodation is the opposite process. This is changing your existing knowledge based upon new knowledge. Or you're changing your existing schema, if you will, based upon new knowledge. So, as you write that down. So, what does that mean? Well, here we go. Child thinks to himself, hey, I can lift this blanket with my hand. I bet I could also lift it with my feet and with my knees. So they learn that they can lift not just with their hands, but they could also lift the same thing with other body parts. Another example of accommodation. I can use one hand to lift my toys right now. Now that I have a heavier toy to play with, I have to use both of my hands to lift my toy because it's heavier. So they're accommodating, they're adjusting their schemes, if you will, the ways that they understand the world to meet these new demands. So you might want to go back and review those last couple minutes there, assimilation versus accommodation. The book gives you some examples too. Hope those examples kind of help you make sense of that. So we're going to call that the end of this part. Thank you.